What's up, guys? Isaiah here from YuGiOh Gaming, and I have Logan here with me, and we're going to do an updated list on our side deck cards for the format. We did a list about 3 weeks ago, and the format's kind of changed and revolved a little bit, so we're going to do an updated list, show you guys what we think needs to be in your side deck format. Get into it. All right, guys, so the first card in our list is going to be Lancia. I think this is one of the best side cards in the game, but I personally think this should be in your main deck if you can main it.
I don't necessarily think that's true. I think it should. It's an S tier side deck card. Simply because it just doesn't hit every deck.
If I'm going into a big tournament, I'm probably playing this in my main deck if I can.
The only thing that sucks is it doesn't hit Prank Kids, which is very popular from the YCS this weekend.
But regardless, this is probably this definitely should be in your side deck if you can play it. All right, Ash Blossom. I think it's, a good card all around. I don't think it's like a very, very, very high impactful card. What do you feel about Ash?
I think it's a main deck. Like, if you're gonna play it, put it in your main deck because it's the best.
This is all around good against everything. And a Ghost Bell, I'm really high on this card. I love this card. I think this card is good against almost everything, if not everything in the game. It's pretty good against Brave. It's good against Prank Kids.
I wouldn't put it that high. I would put it like B. It's never like super high impact. Like, it usually doesn't stop Scythe, which is the issue, because they chain block it with DPE. But it does hit with Water Chick, which is pretty good, and it does hit like some of the other cards of the format. So I think it's a decent card. I don't think it's an amazing card, but it's pretty decent.
Cherries, it's an okay card. It's probably not going to see play for a while. It's like we said in the last video. If it's played, it's really strong, but it's just not very good right now, in my opinion. Now, Ghost Ogre. How you feel about Ghost Ogre?
Ghost Ogre is borderline main deck if you're going to play it. Only because of how strong it is against the Needle decks and how strong it is against, like, any Brave deck.
Yeah, this definitely moved up from where it was last time we did a tier list. I did not expect it to be such a high impact card in this format with the decks that are out. But it's good against the Doodle, it's good against Faithful, it's okay against Needle. Like, it's really, really strong.
Yeah, just the fact that it's one of the only hand traps that it doesn't matter if they start Rights, it doesn't matter if they start Water Chick. Like, for example, like Bell, for example, is only good if they open, Water Chick. Or Ash only hits part of the Faithful. Ghost Ogre just completely clears Faithful off the board. It doesn't matter if they open Water Chick, it doesn't matter if they open Right. Super nice.
Then we have DD Crow. How do you feel about DD Crow?
I think it's pretty mid. Like, it's probably a little worse than Bell, but at stopping Scythe Lock, it's probably better than Bell. So I think it's a pretty decent card.
Nib, I think this card is a lot better than I wanted it to be. It's really good against the big 60 card decks that are going around. It's good against the Rewardon decks. And this card's really strong. I definitely think it probably should be played.
Very good against Prank Kids as well.
Yep.
I think it's an S tier card. It's not in your main deck, should be in your side deck. Same thing as Lancia.
Droll. This card is starting to see a little bit more play than I expected it to be played. It's pretty good against the Brave Engine. It's not very good against Prank Kids, which is why I don't think it's very strong.
I think Droll's getting better as the format's going along, because it's pretty good against like the base deck, as what people have been calling it, just the pile deck. Also, it's very good against Drytron, which is seeing a resurgence with people discovering, like the double Scythe Lock and stuff with that deck. Yeah, I think Droll is probably at the top of B. If Drytron continue to get more popular, if Lundaries continue to get more popular, the card does see a rise. But right now, I think B is pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I can see that. Card's very annoying to play against, but it's got to have like the correct format for the card. And then Imperm, I like Imperm. I don't think it's as impactful as it has been in the past, but it's still really good as like a 6th card. So it's better than most of these if it's your 6th card you draw.
I think it's a main deck card. I wouldn't really mind. Like, I really wouldn't bother side decking this card.
Yeah.
If you're gonna play it, just go ahead and put it in your main deck. Probably the best main deck, low impact hand trap right now, probably.
Now, Ghost Mourner. How you feel about Ghost Mourner?
I think this card's pretty high. I think it's a B. I wouldn't go higher than B though.
Yeah, this card is C. Like, I like this card a lot more than I expected myself to like it. Now that I've been playing it.
It has the time factor going for it. Not only that, but being able to stop Scythe and all these other weird cards, like they summon Savage on your turn, which a lot of these base decks do. You can stop the Savage before it can negate anything. So you could draw it as your 6 card and it's not terrible. It's a level 3 tuner, which is relevant for some decks. Overall, I think it's a solid card right now.
By Skullmeister.
Like the card's probably not as bad as Cherries, but I don't know why you would ever play Skullmeister right now over Bell or DD Crow.
And Effect Veiler. I feel like this card is okay. I feel like it's not as good as like Ghost Mourner and stuff this format.
It's ironic that I think Ghost Mourner right now is just a tad better than Effect Veiler.
Like, I don't think, like you said before, I don't think the card's bad, but the fact that Ghost Mourner can do stuff on your turn, I think it just makes it better than Veiler this format.
Yeah, it's just because Scythe's so relevant and people are synchroing and stuff on your turn. It just gives it an extra boost, you know?
Yep. Now, Token Collector. I still think this card is probably should be in your side deck. I still think this card's really good. It does everything it needs to do. And then, like, the decks that do send cards to the grave, you can even send this to the graveyard. You don't have to have it in your hand.
Yeah, I think it's a little worse than I expected it to be. I think it's still a good card, but a lot of these 60 card decks can play around it pretty easily. But that being said, at worst, it trades for a right token, which isn't awful. So I like it in A. I think it's a really good side deck card. It can just straight up win you some games, but at the same time, it's not as good as it was last format against the decks that you put it in against. But there's more decks now, so there's that as well.
And Gamma. We spoke really highly on this card on the last tier list. How do you feel about it now?
I think the card's just good. Like, here's the thing. I think if your deck can play Gamma, you should be playing Gamma. But I think it's an S tier side deck card. Like, not every deck can main deck it because of the amount of bricks that you play. So that being said, it should probably be in your main deck.
If you play this card, it should definitely be in your main deck.
Like, if you want to side deck it, it's an S tier side deck card. But if you can main deck it, you probably shouldn't main deck it.
All right, moving on to our back row hate cards. We're going to start with Cosmic Cyclone. I mean, it's an okay card. A lot of people are playing Lancia right now, which is why I don't like this card, preferably for my back row hate. Especially where I'm playing a deck. If you're playing a deck that Lancia is good against,
Cosmic's pretty decent. Like, it's not the best side deck card, but like if your deck doesn't lose to Lancia, this card's probably like an A tier side deck card. But that being said, because it does lose to Lancia, I think we should probably put it in B.
Yeah, the card itself is very good. Is really good at stopping and like doing scythe things, but it just, if you like the decks that want to play through Backrow and stuff, like you're gonna play around Lancia, and if they just Lancia you with this, then it just sucks. And then moving on to Harpies, I feel like Harpies is just a decent card. Like, it's not insane, but it should probably be in your side deck if you're playing Backrow hate cards.
Yeah, I think Harpies is pretty good. Honestly, I think it's a little bit higher than B. I think Harpies is A, because most people who are gonna play Backrow hate are probably gonna play Harpies. So I think the card's A. If it does exactly what you want to do against the decks that you're decided in.
All right, Lightning Storm. How do you feel about Lightning Storm? I feel like it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think Lightning Storm's very good right now. Like I said, one thing I do like about Lightning Storm a little bit over Harpies, I think Lightning Storm's a little bit better. Because you can side it in against a deck like Flunder, and it can hit like the monsters too, right?
Yeah.
And it can hit the spells and traps.
And then Twin Twister. I like Twin Twister if you can play it like you don't care about your other card. I like it more than Cosmic, but I feel like it's probably on the same level as Cosmic.
Yeah, I think these cards are a little bit better than I expected them to be, just because of the popularity of Prank Kids.
Yep. Because they can't chain their fusion spell in the standby phase. Heavy Storm Duster. If you're playing a trap deck, it's really good. If you're not, I think it's just really slow. I feel like
it's D.
Yeah, I just
too
think
slow.
it's bad.
Even if you're playing something like Eldritch, I think I'd rather play Twin Twister.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted a spell trap removal.
And then Red Reboot. I feel like if you're playing a combo deck, this is an S tier card. And if you're not, I don't think you should play it. Like if you're playing a deck that can kill with it, that's what I'm saying.
I still think it's S. It's just the best back removal card of the format.
And Evenly Match. This card's really good. It's the same thing with Cosmic. It's if you lose, like this card loses to Lancia. But I definitely think it should be in your side deck if you can play it.
Some decks value the battle phase higher. Some people, some that like one good thing about Evenly, same thing with Lightning Storm, is they can hit the monsters, and that's something Red Reboot, RP's Feather Duster, Twin, Cosmic cannot do. So you could side this in against Sword Soul and Flunder and stuff like that, and it's really high impact. This card's actually really good against Pran Kids, in my opinion, as well, where Lightning Storm is not very good against. So that's something to note as well.
And then we have Droplet. Heavy Droplet. I think this should be in your main deck.
I agree. Like the only way you do not main deck this card is if you don't have it.
And a lot of people are stopping playing this card because they like a lot of the decks that are playing Scythe, like sometimes Droplet's just not enough. But I don't think that is a reason to not play the card. I think it should just be in your deck if you have it.
Yeah, like I understand if you want to go like you want to open all hand traps and like you need to draw 2 hand traps to stop them, and sometimes a hand trap plus Droplet does not do it. You need to draw actual hand traps to stop your opponent on your opponent's turn, which I completely understand. But at the same time, it would be very hard for me not to enter a tournament with 3 Droplets in my main deck. It's C tier. It's not awful, but at the same time, you really want to play for Geki over Lightning Storm or fucking Evenly match.
If your deck has a problem and you want to wipe your opponent's monsters and you don't have Lightning Storms, by all means, if that's what you're trying to do, play it. But if you have Lightning Storms, just play Lightning Storm. And Dark Ruler, how do you feel about Dark Ruler right now?
Like, it's really good against like any of the decks that do not Scythe Lock, even though those are kind of getting limited at this point. I still think it's a strong card though.
Yeah, I really like Dark Ruler. A lot of the decks that are Scythe Locking you, if you can play this, like you can play through the Scythe Lock. Like a lot of decks you can't with the extra deck, but some decks you can Dark Ruler them and then get rid of their board. And then a lot of decks don't have any like big recursion plays afterwards. And then how about Super Poly? We didn't have this on our last list.
So Super Poly, I think I talked about how I thought it was really like a sleeper pick for specifically PK. PK is not as popular as I expected it to be. Well, it was in the beginning, and then it's starting to fall off because everyone's wanting to play these more heavy combo decks. I think Super Poly is not that great. I think it's good in the decks that can utilize the card, like Shadal's, Despia, those type of decks. It's a really strong card in those decks because it's naturally good with their deck. But I don't know how good the card is just going after the Scythe Lock.
Yeah, by itself.
Only because people are doing it with floor and stuff, and you can't really Super Poly floor. It's just weird. Like you don't know what type of board like can hit everything, or you don't know what type of fusion can hit everything. If you can include multiple fusions, maybe, but as of right now, I think it's C, but it's in between C and S. Like, you know what I mean? It can be insane or it can be awful.
All right, Forbidden Chalice. I think, like I said last time, I think the card's okay. I think if you don't have Droplet and you need something like this, it's fine. But I think the card itself is just kind of meh.
It's a budget chalice, or it's a budget Droplet. I mean, like, I understand why people want to play it, but honestly, if you don't have Droplets, just jam your deck full of hand traps. You'll probably still see success.
Yep.
Most decks right now, regardless of what most people want to think, you're probably not going to get Scythe Locked if you open 2 medium to high impact hands.
And Kaijus. I like Kaijus. I miss playing Kaijus. I just don't think they do enough. Like, the boards have multiple negates now. I just don't think Kaijus are enough in the game.
Okay, you out of their 1 negate, you have to deal with 5 more.
Yeah.
Like,
and a Scythe.
You only have 5 cards. Like,
on top of that, we have Lava Golem. I feel like Lava Golem is better than the Kaijus, but it also takes your normal summon. So if you can play it like decks like Drytron, I think it's pretty good. I would probably say I would say it's probably I would say it's higher in decks that can play like Eldritch and Drytron, but overall, I personally think it's like a B or a C tier card.
Yeah, I think it's in the decks that can play it. It's a B tier card, but since not a lot of decks can play it, I think it's C.
And then roster mode, I think is just the worst Lava Golem.
I think it's D. Like, it's weird. You would think that your opponent, like, tributing 3 monsters would just be better than tributing 2 monsters because you're going to let your opponent full combo. You're going to sphere mode them. Problem is, a lot of the time that doesn't happen.
Yep.
And Like, it's a lot more common for two monsters to be on the board and it be enough to be able to break their board, rather than blowing them out by tributing three monsters and then just winning the game because of it.
And then we have old Panky Boy, Panky Trops. I don't see a lot of people playing this card. I like this card, but I just don't. I don't think it does enough this format.
Yeah, I think it's okay. It's not great. It's a lot better against the slower decks, obviously, but because against the combo decks, like, your opponent sets up their 3 to 4 gate board and you get Scythe, you're some Pankratops. It can't even kill anything. Can't even kill the Brave token most of the time because it's equipped with the equip spell. So, like, it doesn't do a whole lot. I still think it's okay, but it's not great.
All right, we have D-Barrier. D-Barrier has started to fall off a lot more. Sword Soul has stopped being played so often. I just don't think this card does enough against like the base decks and everything. Like, I know they make synchros, but they also go into Hulk and Aurora and everything. I just don't think this card does enough.
Yeah, like whenever people started discovering that you can play Mare and just make your synchro deck be able to link as well, just gave it an extra layer, and that immediately made D-Bear a lot worse. If they were focusing on Auroradon and focusing on Hulk and making a bunch of synchros, which they do make a majority of synchros, and it's not that bad of a card against those decks. The problem is they could still like break your board without that. So I think it's about C tier right now.
Anti-spell. I like this card. I think a lot of decks are playing a lot of spell cards right now. The thing I don't like about this card is like most of the time the cards you want to stop with this are chainable.
Yeah, it's not great at stopping stuff like, Droplet, for example.
Yep.
Twin Twister, Cosmic. But it's very good at stopping Right. And Right's a very powerful card this format. It's probably the most powerful card this format. The Brave package. So that alone, just because it stops that, even if your board's like not even that strong, backed up with an anti-spell, a lot of the times it's just going to be game.
Enough. Yeah, it's just going to be enough. Siding the Scythe package. I've seen a lot of people doing this past weekend, siding the Sanctums. I don't know if it's worth it. I feel like if you're playing Scythe, you should probably just play it in your main deck. I think that decks that are siding the Scythe package are just trying to do more than their deck needs to.
I could agree and disagree. So, one thing I do like about the Scythe package, it allows a deck, like, for example, let's use Sky Striker as an example. It got top 4 at the YCS this weekend. Sky Striker, Forbidden Droplet's really bad against. It's terrible. Not a good card. You're going to side it out most games. The fact that you have Artifact saying, like, if they know you have Artifact Sanctum in your deck, that forces them to either A, keep in Droplet, or B, take out Droplet and just risk it. If they don't have Droplet in, they're probably not stopping your Scythe. If they do have Droplet in and they draw Droplet and you don't draw Scythe, it's terrible against your deck. The best thing you can do is stop DPE. So, in the decks that play around specifically Droplet, I think Sanctum's very strong. Stuff like Eldritch, stuff like that. But I think in decks that already lose to Droplet, stuff like that, not needed.
Yeah. I think if you're playing this as a main deck card, but as a side deck card, I think it's a C tier card.
If more decks could play it, it would definitely be higher, I think.
Yep.
It's just very limited in amount of decks who actually want this card, so it's probably C tier.
Yep. Summon limit. I think the only deck that can really play this card is Eldritch. I don't think it's really that bad in Eldritch, but my thing with Eldritch is you really want your cards to be better, like as going second for your Floodgates. Going first is I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's the best. I think there's better cards.
Yeah, I'm not high on this card. It's like a D tier card for me. I'm gonna be honest. Like the fact that if you activate Right, get a token, normal summon, that's 2 summons. You can search the equip spell, bounce it, and then they full combo. Like just because you could get to the equip spell with just 2 summons, out's the card. The reason it's a little bit lower for me.
I would say the same thing as my reason why I don't think Mystic Mine is the best card in the game right now, because, or like a really big side card in the game right now, is because you can just bounce them with your token.
Yeah, I think this card is significantly better if you have a game plan while it's on the board.
Yep.
Like if you have like something like Flunder or like a deck with DPE or something like that. Like this is not like Mystic Mine. This format isn't activate Mystic Mine, deck out your opponent. No, you wanna activate Mystic Mine and dwindle away their resources with like I don't know, Baxia shuffling itself back, or
Yeah, you want to chew at them.
yeah, DPE pop a card every turn, or pranks with the butler and recycling and stuff. Like all that is really good with Mystic Mine. I think that's how the card should be played right now. That being said, I think it's probably C tier, just because not a lot of decks want it right now.
And then Strike. Personally, I think Strike, if you're playing it, should be in your main deck. I don't see a point in siding this card.
Completely agree. There's like, if you're playing a trap deck, you're probably playing Eldritch, and if you're playing this in Eldritch, you're probably playing Floodgates. You want your Floodgates to resolve, so you should play Strike to make sure your Floodgates resolve going second. So it should be a no-brainer in your main deck.
Following that, I'm going to follow that with Judgment. I do think Judgment is better as a side deck card, and in the decks that do side it, like your trap decks, I think it is probably an A tier card.
Yeah, it just stops all the cards you want to stop in your trap deck.
Yep.
Then that again, though, I don't like this card in decks just to stop like Forbidden Droplet, for example.
Correct. I do not think this should be played in a deck that is not like Eldritch. And Tactics. How about Tactics right now?
I like it. I think it's actually pretty good. You're not getting Scythed every game, and I think the matchups that you're not getting Scythed, like, this card is very, very good. The fact is good going first and second, but I think if you're playing this card, it should probably be in your main deck. I think game one is where you're going to get hit with the most low impact hand traps and be able to play through them with tactics the most effectively.
I can agree with you. Skill Drain, I think, should be in your main deck if you're playing it. I really don't see a reason in siding this card if you're playing it. If you're allowed to play this card and you can play the this card, I think it should be in your main deck. Who about Gozen?
I think it's probably better. It's probably B tier. Probably the best Floodgate right now.
Think Rivalry is worse than it?
Yeah, it definitely is. They do very similar things when the Brave package is activated, but when they use the Brave package. But if they're not using the Brave package, Gozen's just significantly better than Rivalry.
How do you feel about a pointer? I've seen a lot of people start picking up on this. There was like 2 or 3 lists I saw on the YCS this past weekend that was playing this card.
I think the card's extremely powerful. Like, I think it's closer to it's like a better anti-spell. How about that? Like, if your deck wants anti-spell, you should look at a pointer. Because a pointer, not only, it's like kind of like tactics, where like, if you're trying to stop like Droplet, it can do that. If your opponent has too many going second cards that they're going to stop you from scything them or whatever, you can try to pick apart their combo and make them be able not to be able to combo, like taking a starter or whatever. Super versatile. Yeah, I really like the card actually. I haven't had experience with it in this specific format, but as a card, as an idea, I really, really do like it.
And last but not least, there can be only one.
I think it's just bad. Like, the Brave package just outs it every time. I think if it's a card that you want to play it in your main deck and be able to stop the Brave package. Like, you need to stop the Brave package and then resolve your combo one. I probably didn't say that very clearly. But overall, the card's not in a good place right now, I don't think.
Yep. I think the card is just, like you said, meh. It just gets bounced by a token. It doesn't do enough anymore.
Yeah. Like, they can, like a lot of these, a lot of these 60 card decks play like multiple different types anyways. So the fact that like it doesn't lock them down is just not worth it.
All right, guys. So that is our side deck tier list, moving even deeper into this format. Some things have changed, some things have moved. We even added some new cards. The format has changed a lot more than we expected it to, and some of these cards are just a lot better and a lot worse than we expected as well. We hope you guys like the new updated tier list. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you're playing. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Peace.